I think we're live. Chat, are we live? YouTube, please be working. Please be working. Yeah, we're live. What is up, people? The internet, it is me, Real American, back in with a new stream, and that is right. We are live on this beautiful January 29th, 2026. I hope everyone's having a great day. I'm having a great day myself. And we are joined by absolutely nobody right now. There might be people that join a little bit, but just us, right? Just me right now. So yeah. We have a lot to talk about today, everybody. Got to talk about the press conference from border czar Tom Homan. That's kind of the big story of today. And how, based on what Tom Homan is saying, Trump won. All right. Trump won in Minneapolis. If what Tom Homan is saying is the truth, which again, we got to see how Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, how they respond. But it's looking like President Trump did get a major victory in the city of Minneapolis, state as a whole. And we'll get to that. We got to talk about the potential shutdown that's brewing. And before we get into today's stream, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content. And if you want to support the channel even further, the best way is sending super chats via the chat. Again, I will read through as much chat as possible, but usually super chats are the best way to get your questions answered. So yeah, super chats greatly appreciated. So yeah. All right. So we have a lot to talk about today. A lot. Where would we start? I guess we can pull up the press conference or what did he call it? A news conference or whatever. The point is, there was a news conference in Minneapolis today from Tom Homan, and it was, in my opinion, very good. It was a very good press conference from Tom Homan. We need somebody like Tom Homan to run DHS. Listen, I know you can't get him the votes in the Senate. I get that. He's quote unquote controversial. Even though Obama gave him an award, it's like that guy's somewhat controversial. But the point is, Tom Homan should be running DHS. It's clear as day. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And the thing is, he also knows how to communicate this stuff. Like we love Tom Homan here. Like he said a lot of good stuff, but my goodness, this press conference by Homan was phenomenal. It hit on basically every single concern. What's going on here? It was basically perfect. It was a phenomenal, excuse me, it was a phenomenal press conference. It was great. It was just fantastic. American Nerd for 2. Hey, Rap, is the BS in Minnesota over? We shall see. We shall see. We'll get to that in a little bit. K-Cup for 5. Rap, did he see CNN glorifying Alex Preddy saying you want to raise sons to be like him? You want your daughter to date a guy like that, Floyd 2.0. Well, suddenly all these outlets, they're going to start forgetting he existed. After that video dropped last night, it's over. The Alex Preddy thing is done. They try to gaslight people. It was working. But that video is just, yeah. I mean, does that mean he should have died? Of course not. I don't think he should be dead right now, but man, he should have been arrested right there. Like 2 weeks ago, he should have been arrested, detained, whatever. And that would never happen. It sucks what occurred, but that's the reality of it. They're trying to, but here's the thing. They just aren't able to. They're not going to be able to gain this momentum and make Alex Preddy this second George Floyd. They couldn't even do that for Renee Good, for crying out loud. It's just not going to happen. So, and on top of that, a quick reminder, he's a white guy. So, and you know the Democrat Party, you notice how the entire crowds, they're just white liberals. You don't see a single non-white protester anywhere. You might see one once in a while, but I just find it hilarious because guess what? They don't care. It's a white guy, so the base does not give a shit about this guy. That's the truth, and it's disturbing, but yeah. If it was a black guy, though, yeah, they would have tried to make this the next Floyd, but yeah, that's not going anywhere. So we shall see. All right, let's get into it. Let us get into the press conference. I was listening to one of my favorite radio hosts, and a woman called in and yelled at the host saying that video is AI generated. Officers should be in jail. Yeah, I saw that. These people are now convinced themselves that video is AI. Even though the family confirmed that's him. He was at that event. They said that's real. BBC confirmed it, and then his own family, for crying out loud. You're telling me that not only is BBC like in a grand conspiracy to pretend the video is real, but on top of that, the family's involved? That's bullshit. That video is 100% real. And I don't want to hear a damn word from these people, especially after what Senator Dick Durbin did yesterday. What he did on the Senate floor is an embarrassment. Like, there are no excuses whatsoever for what he did. And for those that don't know, he went on the Senate floor. This is a real video. He went on the Senate floor and look at this. He used an AI-generated image, of a fake image of what occurred, and he like entered into the record as proof that, oh my goodness, look at this horrific tragedy. You know, they killed him in cold blood. He's doing nothing. Look at this. It's a fake image that was AI generated. You could tell this agent does not even have a face on him. Look at this. He doesn't even have a face. Like, let me pull this up here. Let me pull up the, where is it at? Yeah, right here. Look at this. That's not a good color. Let me pick a better one. That should work. Look at this. Oh, not that one. Shoot. Right here. Look at that. He does not even have a face right there. It's just gone. And this dumb shit in Dick Durbin fell for it. He tried to promote this as real, and that they were trying to. It just... Oh my goodness. Wow. This is what we're dealing with, everybody. These same people are claiming that video is fake, but no, this is real. Wow. The Headless Horseman. Yeah, I guess the guy was a Headless Horseman. Yep, totally. Unbelievable. I form my worldview based entirely on what the British government tells me. Well, then you should believe that he literally started a riot a couple weeks ago. He should be detained for it. Yeah, this is sad. Yeah, they're not even trying to hide it. They're just saying, yeah, that's real. I mean, like, this is clearly fake. It's not even the same image. You can tell it's just AI slop. It's shit. But they try to push this as real. But that video that the family themselves confirmed is real. CNN confirmed it now. BBC, NBC, all these outlets are confirming that video is real. The Democrats don't say it's fake. What's even the word for this? This is beyond just like insane. This is like, what do you even call this? It's a deranged version of schizophrenia where everything is fake or it's real at the same time. It's just nuts. Christopher Gooden has been a member for 18 months. Thank you so much, good sir. American Nerd for 2. I've seen better AI photos than that crap. Yeah, it's just slop. You can tell it's fake from. You don't have to do an analysis of it. It's bullshit. Object Clay's character for 2. So based that we got the Headless Horseman ice. Yeah. We got the Headless Horseman. Apparently, it's brainwashing. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. It's brainwashing. These schizophrenics are convinced this is real, and they're all pushing you. Notice every single Democrat, they keep pushing this as real. Every single account, hundreds of times. But oh, the one real video, it's fake. Double think. Yeah, that's another way to put it. It's just insane. And this is the second highest ranked Democrat in the Senate right now that pushed this. That's a random backbencher. This is Dick Durbin, one of the highest ranking Democrats in the Senate that's pushed this shit. It is unfreaking believable. I can't get over this. I just can't. Remember back in 2020, we had sports leagues and corporations promoting BLM. None of them are promoting the anti-ICE agenda because nobody gives a shit. And that's why I'm saying these polls are showing like half people support abolishing ICE. That's bullshit. You're going to tell me that, I'm not even joking, YouGov is claiming 20% of Trump voters, they want to abolish ICE now. Not defund it, abolish it. These polls are pushing horse shit. That should confirm what we've been saying for a while. There's something going on with these polls. You can't tell me with a straight face 20% of Trump voters want to abolish ICE. Give me a break. Who are these 20% of voters, of Trump voters? They want to abolish ICE now? Seriously? Why? It's just horse shit. All right. So enough of that. Just a quick tangent. It's insane. Except the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, they tried to do that moment of silence, and yeah, it was lame. Do you think the recent ruling of Virginia redistricting will stand? Yeah, it's legally speaking, it's a very strong ruling. It's not just like one thing. They actually go into detail the ruling itself, like why they ruled it that way, not just one tiny detail. I don't see how even the Virginia Supreme Court, which I think is technically Republican majority on paper at least, I don't see how you could overturn that. Maybe they overturn parts of it, but you basically just say everything the ruling said is bullshit. It's not like some Democrat ruling where it's like one word, which is or two words, like Orange Man bad or whatever. Whatever. It's actually detailed ruling. So, Cake Out for 2. Everything I don't like is fake. A child's book. That's real. American Nerd for 6. Only people who care about ICE are people who want cheap labor like those in Hollywood who use illegals to clean their crappers. Yeah, basically. So, let's talk about the press conference from border czar Tom Homan, who guys, after the stream, go watch the Tom Homan press conference. It was phenomenal. I'm not exaggerating. It was what we desperately needed. Because there's a lot of people on the right pushing horseshit about, oh, Trump's going to leave Minneapolis today and it's all over. Well, turns out that was complete horse shit. Let me pull this up. So, Tom Homan had a press conference today, and wow, it was amazing. I have the tweet right here. So I had to take away from this Tom Homan press conference. There are some very clear things. For starters, he threw Kristi Noem under the bus. Kristi Noem is done. Is she gonna get fired officially? No, but I don't think she's gonna be doing anything. I mean, Tom Homan immediately said, I'm not here to do photo ops, and I'm not here to, not here for publicity stunt. I wonder who he's talking about. So already you could tell he's not pissing around. He's already saying Kristi Noem did a shit job indirectly, which she kind of did. We hear more about what's going on in Minneapolis. It was a shit show. Not that we should stop the operations, but the way we're conducting things, it's just questionable. But Chris are good for 6. How long do you think it'll take for libs to realize that they're pawns of the Dems? Well, they don't care. They're just so mentally ill that they can't think for themselves at this point. So, yeah, I mean, it's just not going to happen. Hopefully it does, but these people are just lost. They're mentally ill. They're on God knows what drugs. They're schizophrenic. They're paranoid. They have actual TDS. It's a real thing. It's just not good. But yeah, so he threw Kristi Noem under the bus. And again, Kristi Noem did an awful job here. Especially, the big thing was messaging. That's what pissed a lot of people off. That was the final nail in the coffin for Noem. When she went around and said, oh, this is perfectly fine. It's like she called him a domestic terrorist and stuff. And, again, in hindsight, you could argue maybe she was right to a point. Maybe I'm not saying she was. But I mean, she just failed miserably. She does not know how to do correct PR. And it pissed a lot of people off. It was horrific. So that's why he had to send Tom Homan into Minneapolis. And within days, he apparently got a lot of stuff done. But the funny thing is, it wasn't just Kristi Noem. I mean, he threw Kristi Noem under the bus, but also he did the same thing for Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. He absolutely screwed them over the base, at least the Democrat base. Because the Democrat base now, they want to abolish ICE. They don't want federal law enforcement. But Tim Walz and Jacob Frey allegedly said They want ICE to conduct operations. Like, they want them to enforce the law, and that they are, in fact, a legitimate agency. I love how Tom Homan, like, phrased it. They are that's what Fry and Walls said. It's a federal law enforcement agency. They agreed with that. They agreed they have the right to do so. They got to they got to deport some people. And that's what he claimed those two said. Gee, I wonder why he did that. Gee, I wonder why. It's as if he realizes there's a weakness here. Democrats are so deranged. If they hear that Walls or Fry are like even slightly working with Republicans, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to turn on them immediately, and they already are. So Tom Homan, it was right away, shat on Christian Noam, and then threw Walls and Fry to the Democrat wolves. Oh yeah, by the way, Walls and Fry, they're working with us now. They agree with us on a bunch of things. They agree with us that we need law enforcement. I mean, I love what he did there. That was perfect. Object Clay's candidate for 5. If the Virginia ruling stands and Democrats lose on the chamber in 27, do you think that halts redistricting until after census? We shall see. We shall see with Virginia. American Nerd for 6. If we get a bigger majority in the Senate, do you think we could get Tom Homan confirmed as DHS secretary? He would be an upgrade over Noam. I mean, maybe. You got to get like 55 in the Senate, I think. Maybe a bit less, because for some reason, some Democrats do like Homan, apparently. So we'll see. But yeah, so right away, it was a great start by Homan, but then he got into the actual details, not just the bullshit PR speak. It was the actual meat and potatoes of this operation. What was going on here? And we can confirm that some, keyword is some, agents will be leaving Minneapolis soon. Notice how he phrased it. It was not immediately, but we are going to eventually pull back some federal agents out of Minneapolis. But that is if the Democrats in Minneapolis, like Fry and Walls, if they actually do their damn job and allow law enforcement to be in support. Not like they don't have to enforce federal like immigration laws. They just got to at least work with ICE for like support and like stopping agitators. That's all we're asking, plus the jail stuff. That's all he said. So we're not leaving Minneapolis. Far from it. Apparently, we're staying there. We are staying in Minneapolis until they do that. They work with us and they allow us to go in their jails. Like Tom, that's what Tom Homan said. And apparently there might be some agreement on the jail thing, which would be a huge win. You want to stop a lot of these shitty raids that some people don't like. That's how you do it. Allow ICE officers to go to these jails so they can immediately detain them and they don't got to worry about anything. Yeah. So much for that theory. Oh, guys, we're abandoning Minneapolis. No, we're just adjusting the strategy. The operation's staying the exact same. They're not changing it. They're staying the exact same. K-Cup for 2. Didn't protesters storm Walls' office after this? Yes. They're already pissed off. They want Walls gone now. Look at the Democrat base in Minnesota right now. They're so pissed off with Walls and now Fry. They're going to force us two out. They're going to try to. But sure, this is actually a bad thing for Trump here. Bailey Spangler for 10. Noam has never been good. She was a C-tier governor at best, but Trump and the Fox News BoomerCon crowd has always had a weird obsession with her. She has a lot of similarities with Bondi. She's not as bad as Bondi, but that's not really saying much. Because at least with Noam, she's done some decent stuff at DHS, but it's not enough to warrant being the secretary there. It's not worth it. But yeah. Yeah, so basically, Tom Homan confirmed they're not leaving. The operation's staying the same. And he said they're staying there. And in fact, they're not going to even stop the operation until they get every single target on their list. Yeah, so does this sound like we're leaving Minneapolis tomorrow? Give me a freaking break. All that's happening is we adjusted the strategy slightly. We're changing it slightly where we will pull back some agents, mainly Border Patrol, But local law enforcement, they got to actually stop these agitators. When they're getting in the face of the ICE agents, where are the police at? Where are the sheriffs at? They're nowhere to be seen. And that's why you have Border Patrol there. Border Patrol is there, not necessarily to detain illegals, but to stop agitators. That's why they're there. They're in a support capacity. Now, there's a chance we get local law enforcement to do the same thing. Because Border Patrol is never supposed to be in Minneapolis. It was always supposed to be ICE and whoever else. But we had to bring Border Patrol in and others because guess what? There needs to be support for these raids. And he explained this, by the way. He explained that on average, one of these raids you see on like TV or stuff, you need on average 16 agents for one single raid. Do the math on that. 16 agents. If you want to conduct 100 raids, do the math. You need what, like 1,600 agents to do 100 raids? Do you see the problem here? That's why they had to send so many agents into Minneapolis. And that was the issue with the current strategy. It wasn't going fast enough. You have to use so many people for these operations, and it's not working. Not as fast as we needed to. Though we have arrested a shit ton of people, thankfully. But the problem is, we have to use so many people at this one city when we could be doing more operations across the board. So yeah, that's what's going on here. You need 16 agents for one raid. But if they would just let them go into these jails and get these nutcases out of there, it takes 1 to 2 agents. Yeah, so instead of having to waste 1,600 people on 100 different raids, just an example, theoretically, you could detain 100 people with just 200 agents. That's a big difference, isn't it? That's a pretty big difference. And that's what Tom Homan agreed was trying to get at. We're not changing the actual idea of the operation. We're just we have to focus on getting these jails because there's a lot of immigrants in these jails. They got to go, but they're just releasing them. They're not saying anything. They disappear for good. And that's why you need these large scale operations. You have to bring in support. You got to deal with the agitators, got to deal with a potential threat. That's what's going on here. And I like how he explained it. Explain it to the Maroons saying, oh, we're pulling back ICE agents. No, we're pulling back the support agents that we don't really need. And even then, we're not really doing that. We pulled back like 5 people so far. It's not 1,000 people. It's been like 5, if that. They just removed some of the top people. They brought in Homan and others, and that's it. They just reshuffled the top. And now they are making plans to slowly pull back. That's what they're confirming now. But that's on the contingent that local law enforcement works with ICE, not with actual law enforcement on the immigrant stuff, but deal with the agitators, support us in a support capacity, let us go in the jails, all that stuff. So that's what's going on here. Those are the main things as of now, and I like it. I like how Tom Homan phrased it. It was not this shitty PR speak. You can't understand half of it. No, it's basic stuff. Just, hey, we need 16 agents on average. That's the number he gave for a single raid. But with his current deal, we would only need 1 or 2 per detainee. That's a huge difference. So we could actually theoretically increase the amount of deportations. That's a funny thing about this. We could theoretically remove a lot of agents in Minneapolis, but if this agreement goes through, we could actually deport more people. That's just the funny thing about this. We get more people deported if we go through with this. And I love that. That's the best way to do it. If that's really what it takes, do it. I don't care if we have to pull back some Border Patrol agents. If local law enforcement's doing their job and these jails are actually listening, who gives a shit? These people aren't even supposed to be there. Who cares? They've gotten 3,500 out in the last month. It's like 3,500, might be a bit more now. Yeah, they've done a good job considering, but at some point, you got to bring in so many people to kind of waste of time. At a certain point, you got to get in the jails because there's so many people in these jails that we can deport. Well, we can't get into them. But now that might be changing. Let's see. I won't trust them to keep them on ice detainer for very long. That is true. That is a serious concern. Will they actually uphold that and not for 5 minutes and let them go? We'll see. But the fact that we're even talking about this is huge. We're actually making some significant progress. Excuse me. So yeah, I think it's a good start. I think it's a great start by Tom Homan. He's done a phenomenal job considering. And I'm still trying to figure out, what have we lost in this? Seriously, can anyone explain a single thing that Trump admin had to give up to get potential big wins, like law enforcement doing their job, getting access to the jails, getting these detainers? What did we really give up? And also, this pissed off the Democrat base. So it's a win-win for everybody. Name one thing we have to give up of note right now. Oh, we have to pull back some Border Patrol agents. They weren't even supposed to be there. They were there in a support capacity. If law enforcement's doing their job, we don't need them. They were never supposed to be there. Yeah, I seriously cannot think of one downside to what's going on here. Not a single downside at all. It's all good stuff. It is all stuff that helps with deportations big time. The Trump admin probably lost a few polling points to immediate response bias. And that's a problem. You got a lot of these bullshit influencers pushing bullshit. Oh, Trump's gonna pull out of Minneapolis. He never said that. You gotta look at you gotta look between the PR speech. Like, look at what they're actually saying. They're saying they're gonna stay in Minneapolis and they might pull back a little bit if the local law enforcement does their job. That's all Homan said. It's just common sense. Like, that's a huge win because essentially you're gutting the current immigration policy of Minneapolis by agreeing to this. That's a funny thing. We are actually about to a lesser extent, end a lot of these insane policies in Minneapolis that we've been bitching about for years. That's why this is a huge win for Trump. It makes it so much easier to deport people. That's just a fact. It's not going to be easy, but it makes it a lot easier than it is right now. So yeah. And also, he did also explain who they're targeting. And this has always been a point of contention for the Trump admin. And I've been saying this repeatedly. I agree that the Trump admin, they got to deport more people. I think they got to scale up operations more. I agree with that. But guys, can we stop this shit idea of, oh, they're only deporting some illegal immigrants and they're keeping the non-criminals? That's not the case at all. I'm getting sick and tired of this same narrative being pushed by the same people. Tom Homan actually addressed this. He's the first one to finally officially address this theory, because they've kind of talked a little bit about it, here and there. But Tom Homan clarified that they are going after, their main focus are illegal immigrants that they consider to be threats to the society, criminals, etc. So the high-risk people, they're targeting the most right now. But he also clarified that does not mean everybody else is off the hook. They're just saying right now, their focus, not exclusively, but their main targets are the high-risk people, the people that pose a serious threat to the community because they're criminals, they're part of the cartel, God knows what. That's what people are trying to say for months now. They're not ignoring everybody else. They're just saying these are the easiest people to deport right now, and they're the biggest threats to society. They got to go. That's what the Trump admin said. And I agree with that. I want to deport everybody. I agree. That's what Homan said. They're not stopping the deportations programs. They're just saying they're going to prioritize the high-risk people, the people that pose a threat to the community first. But if they see an illegal immigrant, they're going to deport them. They don't care. They're just focused on the main people. How can anyone be saying that's amnesty? It's not. That is not amnesty. Amnesty is saying we're going to deport nobody. Everybody's off the hook. That's not what's happening here. What's happening, we're focused on the main people first, but we still are going after others. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. That does not mean, let everybody off the hook. I agree with that. That is cause for concern. Like, hey, don't just focus on criminals because they're all criminals. They broke the law. And even Homan said that. They all committed a crime entering the country illegally. They're just focused on the people that they know are threats to the society. And I've said this many times now, but you get the point. So what does Chat think? Chat, what do you guys think about this Homan press conference? Because that's kind of it. That's kind of the main gist of it. I like everything he said here. I would recommend watching it. He did a phenomenal job explaining what they're doing, what was the agreement. He explained to the morons what they mean by going after the high-risk illegals first. That does not mean they're ignoring everybody else. They're just targeting the main people first. If they see an illegal immigrant, they're gone. They're not purposely ignoring them. That's bullshit. I think it was a great deal. Yeah, I don't see the downside. Nothing's changed. I don't get what people are bitching about. I was a bit hesitant at first because there were some reports going around that they're going to pull back ICE and then slow down operations. No, far from it. They're actually accelerating things if you think about it. So, you're right. Homan knows what he's doing. Yeah, he does. Homan knows exactly what he's doing. And I don't get what people are complaining about. He's going after the people with added crimes because, by definition, all are criminals. That's what he said. And he's trying to make people understand that does not mean they're ignoring everybody else. He said they're all criminals, one way or the other, because they crossed the border illegally. They're just going after the cartel members. They're going after the gangs first because guess what? Who's a bigger risk to society? The 80-year-old illegal immigrant that is in a nursing home or whatever, or the guy that's part of a cartel. Gee, I wonder what they're going to focus on the most. People can't comprehend that. They just think, oh, they're going to go after anybody randomly. Listen, they see an illegal immigrant, they're going after them. They're going to do raids. But if they see somebody that's a criminal, that's actively committing more crimes, who do you think they're going to go after? Just use your brain. It's common sense. Excuse me. They need to head to cities in red states. The National Guard would always be on hand. Well, they already are. That's another fake thing. People make it sound like they're ignoring Texas. No, you just don't hear the shit going on in Texas because the state government's working with ICE and Border Patrol. Same thing with Tennessee, Louisiana. They're all working with the administration. That's why you're not seeing the same shit go on down there. You don't. You don't see this shit go on in Texas. You don't see this shit go on in Florida. They actively work with them, and that's why we're seeing per capita way more deportations in Texas and in Florida. Objectively speaking, I gotta pull the chart. I do gotta pull that chart because it's just insane. All right. Right here. This is the chart. And again, this is a little bit outdated. This is from June of last year. But this just proves what I'm saying. These are the states with the most ICE arrests during Trump's second term. Look at this. Look at this. Texas, 23%, Florida, 11, California, 7, Georgia, 4, Arizona, 3, New York, 3, Virginia, 3, New Jersey, 2.5. The biggest ones per capita are Republican states because some of these states like Indiana and Utah, they don't have many illegal immigrants, especially compared to California or Minnesota or New York or Virginia. This bullshit idea that they're not arresting anybody in Republican states, that is absurd. In fact, they're arresting way more in red states because guess what? They're able to do so without problems. No bullshit judge is going to say, you can't arrest that person. None of that shit. They're able to arrest people quite easily. They got detainers. It's working perfectly. Runs a clockwork in these states. California is the only blue state that ICE has deported the most. Yeah, California. That's because just you walk down the street like half of it. Like I'm not trying to like I might be like exaggerating a bit, but unironically, you walk down the street like probably a quarter of the population is like illegal immigrants. I'm not trying to be like that, but would I be far from the truth when I say that? And that's with obstruction in California. Minnesota isn't even on the list. Again, this is from June. This is from June of 2025. It's a bit outdated. You could probably add more states. Probably like it's up there probably now because they've arrested a ton of people. Minnesota, it's up to 4,000, I think. So Utah is like half the population of Minnesota. You see more arrests. Yeah. And I guarantee you Minnesota has more illegal immigrants than Utah. Utah probably has a bit more than like Wyoming, but yeah. A glitch Evie for 5. The California number will jump up massively if by some miracle Operation Chaos happens. Listen, Operation Chaos is going to happen. I'm becoming more convinced. After that dumbass mayor's running now, you might end up with a Republican v. Republican, and I guarantee you they're going to fight like hell in the courts to overturn that. They're going to fight like hell. Democrats are. But we shall see. It's going to be in a couple months. So, Georgia's interested. I wonder if they'll swing the state to the right slightly. Well, there's a decent size illegal immigrant population in Georgia. So, yeah. Florida's even more so. That Indian trucker killed 3 Haitian illegals in that wreck. Just to give you an idea on the density. Yeah, there's a lot in Florida, a lot in Texas, obviously. But difference is, we can actually arrest them. It's not some bullshit judge or governors be like, nope, can't arrest them. Nope, can't do it. Oh, we got breaking news of the shutdown. Hold up here. Apparently Angus King's gonna vote yes on the DHS funding. Let's see. I'm not seeing this. Where you guys seeing the DHS thing at? I'm not seeing it anywhere. That's gotta be fake news. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Republicans have led the last 4 polls of California governor. I'm starting to think the funniest scenario will happen. And everybody hates each other on the Democrat side. They don't like each other. And they got our major candidate running. So it's like, they have like 10 people running. They're all getting like 5% of the vote. Oh, man. If California goes Republican v. Republican, the top 2 primaries will be repealed overnight. Oh, yeah. They're going to fight like hell in the courts. They're going to say, no, it can't be Republican v. Republican because reasons. Yeah, if we actually get a Republican governor in California, which I'm not saying it's a prediction, but I would laugh hysterically. All right. Turner for 5. The border secure. We deported over 500,000 from the interior. And these black pill influencers say we deported no one. They are ignorant. Yeah. I think that it is we want more deportations. I agree with that. We cannot be pissing around. We got 4 years, maybe up to 8. You can't piss around now. You got to deport as many people as possible. But the idea of deporting nobody, it's bullshit. Maybe it's not 600,000 from the interior, but let's just say it's 400,000. The estimates earlier this year were like 300,000, whatever. It's like 400,000, includes self-deportations. Let's be generous and only say 1.6 million self-deported. That's 2 million right there that are just gone. 2 million times 4. And that's assuming there are no accelerations with Big Beautiful Bill funding, no more operations, nothing like that. It's like 8 million over the course of 4 years. Over the course of 8 years, 16 million. So yeah, we want more. Our goal is trying to get like 30 million, I would say. By the end of Vance's term, theoretically, we should be up to like 30 to 40 million. But Yeah. A glitch Evie for 5. They will say because 60% of the state voted for a Democrat, we have to have a Dem. Yeah, they're gonna, knowing the California judges, they're gonna push that through. It would be something batshit crazy like that. Yeah, Senate fails advanced package. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. So we're gonna see what happens to the shutdown. Uh, if both Republicans advance to the runoff, Democrat turnout will plummet. Yeah, that's another thing. That's why Democrats they're just so delusional. They don't realize that. They do not realize turnout would suck, and suddenly that redistricting was for nothing, at least for 2 years. But who knows? Maybe with all the people getting deported in the Save Act, maybe it changes things. We'll see. We shall see. All right. Fetterman is voting yes. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. I think he wants to avoid a shutdown, but he's going to support DHS. I think he still does, actually. Yeah, he should. Perictius for 20. Breaking news: a federal judge, 3-judge appeal court rules that Christendom cannot end TPS for any group of people. The 3-judge panel acknowledged that the ruling means nothing. The Supreme Court has already ruled she can. Dumb. Wait, what? Are you serious right now? Did a judge actually say that? Yeah, apparently they did. Wow, that's so a judge just said, "Oh, the Supreme Court said this, but we don't care. They're wrong. They're gonna rule against us, but it doesn't matter." That's what we're dealing with. That right there. Yikes. Check Benny Johnson. So let's see. I'm not seeing anything for Benny Johnson. Oh, we do got some major news actually. Breaking: the DOJ have charged the man accused of attacking Congresswoman Ilhan Omar at the town hall. So yeah, the DOJ is charging them. Good. I'm not a fan of Omar. You may say it's staged or whatever, but who cares? Charge them. Let's go ahead and charge them. So surely Democrats are not going to oppose this, right? Surely it wasn't all a hoax, right? Right? Oh my gosh, it's gonna come out. They're gonna oppose it, aren't they? Phaser for 2. Any news of the Save Act? There is momentum building. There's big momentum with John Thune now supporting it. There's a chance. There's a chance the Save Act gets through, which would be huge. Republicans need to force all the Republican candidates except Hilton and Bianco to drop out. They should. And tell people to vote evenly for the two. You vote this way, you vote the other. Rap, why would they oppose it? Because Discovery would be funny. And if it turns out he did actually stage it, that might be a big issue for Omar. That might be a political disaster for them. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But I don't think they're going to oppose it. It would just be kind of funny. Do you prefer Hilton or Bianco for California governor? Honestly, I don't really care. I think they're both kind of the same in one way or the other. Hilton's kind of just, he's there, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a 50-50 thing for me. I don't really mind both of them, but they're not like the best either. But getting a Republican governor in California, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? All right. Mikey for 50. The toughest hurdle for any Republican in California office is that much illegal fiscal and taxes are all codified in the state constitution by the proposition system. We would need a massive voter shift to fix. Yeah, that's a big issue. That is a huge issue the Republicans have to deal with if they somehow take control. Yeah, I agree with that. 100% agree. K Cub for 5. Trump, it is awful what happened, Omar. I don't like her, but that shouldn't happen. Omar, don't listen to him. He is wrong. Throw stuff at me. Well, he didn't even say that. Trump did kind of say, like, she faked it, which is freaking funny, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what Omar says. That whole video is sketchy. And just the whole thing is sketchy. Let's see. As a Californian, Bianco is the best option since he is a sheriff of a county that flipped towards right. Yeah, I think long term it could help, but yeah. Practice for 20. Lover News. Breaking. Angus King, Richard Blumenthal, and Janine Shaheen have backed off threats to block 10 billion additional funding for immigration and customs enforcement. I'll look that up. I don't think I believe that. I don't think I believe that. Yeah, I'm not seeing that anywhere. But if they actually like reopen the government and no shutdown occurs, that's gonna piss off a lot of people on the left. So, uh, hold up, everybody. We actually also got some. I forgot to mention this. We do got some other major news. So as everybody knows, we're talking a lot about self deportations and how it's happening, and some people are gonna dispute that, but yeah, we'll get to that in a second because President Gilbert Giddy up for 5. If Democrats actually oppose the prosecution of the guy who attacked Omar and was fake, then Trump would be right. It would be so skibbity toilet. Oh gosh. Yeah. I'll if they actually bend the knee on this, they're gonna lose all their enthusiasm. I hope people realize that. Democrat enthusiasm, it could crash any minute now. I mean, it's one of those things where it's basically presidential level right now. Problem is, I think they peaked too early. I think their enthusiasm right now, it peaked way too early. And Democrats don't realize that. The problem they have now is they make one major fuck up the next couple months, all that enthusiasm dies. So, yeah. A glitch Evie for 5. I'm trying to get my friend and his dad who live in California and are both Republicans, but typically don't vote in primaries, vote for both. Yeah, again, try to get your family and friends to vote in California for Bianco or Hilton. Make sure it's even. Split out evenly. Don't want to do anything. Practice for 5. I post a link in the chat. I don't see it. K Cup for 2. Bush, Omar, you're gonna bob and weave like me. Oh gosh. Okay. So, like I said, we've been talking a lot about self-deportations. There might be a new metric out there to indicate that self-deportations are happening. Look at this. These are estimates of US births by race and ethnicity. And right now, these are estimates. Again, this could be bullshit. But the estimates right now show a 1.5% decrease for Hispanics. Yeah, Hispanics are going down. We see other metrics as well by months, like down 10% in some months. Black non-Hispanics down 3%, Asian non-Hispanic 2%, American Indians down 3.5%, Pacific Islander down 2%, multiracial by 5. Notice white, not Hispanic, it's up 0.5%. And I believe this is the first time in a while that white non-Hispanic was a majority. Is this proof that there's 10 million people self-deported? No. But it is very interesting to see this. We've seen other metrics by month indicate, hey, maybe there is a drop going on here. And where are these people going? How does it decrease higher for black compared to Hispanic? I don't know. That's why I'm saying, like, this doesn't prove self-deportations, but kind of interesting stat that the only groups that go up are white and multiracial. Only groups go up. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. We shall see. I mean, like, I'm very curious to see, like, what is it in 2 years? What is it in 2 years? There's probably a lot of Republicans in California that don't vote and give it up. Maybe, but this might be their chance. This is their best chance of winning. So if you live in California and you want to like vote for a Republican governor, have a chance of winning, this is your chance. It's now or never. You're not gonna get this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Get a Republican that actually wins. Phaser for 5. With all the redistricting lawfare led to more states secession movements like we see in Oregon. Maybe. I think so. That's actually an interesting question. I don't know for sure, but I think we're gonna see some movement on that front. There's a bunch of places want to leave, like Oregon, for example. Uh, yeah, we'll see. That is a good question. All right, so enough of that. We do got to talk about some breaking news that broke a little while ago, actually. So we actually not really breaking news, but news that broke last night that I think everybody's heard about by now. It's what's going on in Fulton County, Atlanta, or Georgia. That's where Atlanta is. We have some pretty big news. For those that live under a rock, there was a significant raid at the election office in Fulton County, Georgia, which is where Atlanta is. Everybody knows Atlanta has some very they do funny things in Atlanta for elections. Well, out of nowhere, the FBI raided this office. And as of last night, they departed with 700 2020 election ballot boxes. Yeah. So Fulton County, where Atlanta is, the FBI out of nowhere, they got a search warrant. And this search warrant, by the way, is damning because we're not talking about just some random tiny search warrant for one thing. Apparently, it was like a blanket one where it's basically anything they see they could take. That's kind of exaggeration. We get the point that it was a very broad, very powerful warrant. And out of nowhere, they began to take all these boxes and stuff. They took everything and ran away with it. The FBI did. But that's not the big update because that's one thing. Like, who gives a shit? We heard about this last night. The significant update is who showed up because it's not just the FBI that pulled up. The FBI, that's one thing, but it wasn't just her. It wasn't just the FBI. It included Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Right here, there's an image of Tulsi Gabbard. She went to this place. Tristan for 2, why was Tulsi there? Do we know? Yeah, and that I just brought that up. This is the curious thing about this. Why is Tulsi Gabbard at this election office? Why? Why is Tulsi Gabbard here? She is the Director of National Intelligence. Why is she randomly showing up? And also, Andrew Bailey showed up out of nowhere. Yeah, Andrew Bailey, the Associate Deputy Director of the FBI or whatever, he pulled up. What's going on here? Why do they send Andrew Bailey and Tulsi Gabbard here? Because Andrew Bailey, it's one thing, it's the FBI. Though we've been wondering, what is Bailey going to do? But now it begins to make a bit of sense. Because allegedly right now, there is a grand jury in Missouri. And Andrew Bailey is from Missouri. And he finally does something for the first time in months. He goes to this office in Georgia, which, by the way, I want Bailey to be AG. But why is Bailey going down there? I think he was brought in to investigate this shit. They were realizing Kash Patel, he's done a good job at some fronts at the FBI. He's done some good stuff when it comes to the main crimes, like murders and rapes and all that stuff. Like, he's done a phenomenal job stopping that stuff. And like drug dealers, and like that's been he's done a phenomenal job on that front. Murders are way down. They're actually catching criminals. But the FBI has fumbled big time when it comes to the big stuff, like the election stuff, the Epstein, and all this other stuff. All these major things we've been talking about for a while. And part of that is because the FBI, there's still a lot of swamp people in there. You got to deal with all these people that you can't fire because you got to replace them somehow. It takes a while to do that. But Andrew Bailey showed up. I think he's in charge of the investigations into the election stuff, Trump's assassination, etc. They brought him in because he is an attorney general, or he was. So he knows what he's doing. That would explain why there's a grand jury in Missouri. And he's actually good at his job. But the confusing thing is Tulsi Gabbard. Why is she there? Guys, Tulsi Gabbard, she's the director of national intelligence. This means one of two things. One of two reasons why she would be down there. One, they decided she's doing nothing and they want to give her a job. So they decide to send her down there. But it doesn't make any sense. Like, you already sent Bailey down there. Why is she there? Or secondly, they're investigating foreign interference or something on that order. Because why is Tulsi Gabbard down there? She's in charge of she's the director of national intelligence. That's her job is on election stuff. Unless it involves foreign intelligence. We got to see what happens here, but it's very suspicious. Why is she down there? Why is Bailey down there? Why is there a grand jury in Missouri? But it's slowly beginning to make sense here. And funny how this happens after they get Maduro, which I'm not saying that's what happened here, but isn't it ironic? Like 2 days after, or a couple weeks after they got Maduro, suddenly they do this raid. I have no clue. I have no clue what's going on here. Practice for 10. If we find tens or hundreds of thousands of ballots are fake, wrong, or whatever, and it turns out Trump might have actually, you know what do we do? Trump technically gets another term, or you can't really relitigate the past, really, but if they figure that stuff out, the Democrat Party's dead. If they figure out that this is what happened here and they work with God knows who, the Democrat Party's dead. Nobody's going to vote for that. No independents will be like, yeah, I'm going to vote for that party that did that. They basically coup the president out of office. So, American Nerd for 2, the plot continues to thicken. Yeah. Why is Tulsi there? That's a very good question. Why is she in Fulton County? Very interesting stuff's going on. But it does make sense. We got Bailey now. And why there's a Missouri grand jury. He's investigating the main stuff we've been begging for. Maybe the Kirk stuff included. And it takes a while. I mean, we're in the year 2 of Trump's admin, and now they just raided this place. So it does take a while. But man, it's getting very interesting with the FBI and with DNI. This is gonna get very interesting next couple weeks. It's gonna, because you know damn well something's gonna leak. You know damn well the FBI and the DOJ, there's gonna be people going to Axios on this. What happened with John Rose? Oh, he's just busy with his personal life. That's all. He's doing fine. K-Con for 5. Based on what Perictius said, we may legit get Trump 28. The one dude in chat is going to be fully vindicated if that happens. Well, not really, because he's already served 2 terms. You can't really say he gets a third one. You can't really do that. Even then, I want Trump to enjoy retirement. I mean, he's getting up there in age and, he's still fine. He's still mentally there and physically he's doing pretty good. But, he's going to be like 83 eventually. You don't really want to Biden. Honestly, would you really want to remember Trump as like the second Joe? No, you don't want that. You want to remember him as a badass that saved America. So I say let him retire. Let him enjoy his retirement. Let him enjoy his final days in Florida, Mar-a-Lago. I think that's what he wants to do. I don't really think he wants to run again. I just don't think so. And that's going to be kind of weird. He doesn't actually want to run. I don't think he wants to. I know Steve Bannon's pushing for him, but I've always got the feeling Trump does not want to run again. Yeah, let him rest. Yeah, let him rest. Trump never sleeps. Retirement wouldn't work well for him. Yeah, but he wants to spend time with his grandkids and stuff. Yeah, we'll see. Vance more qualified to lead. Yeah, he's more than qualified. I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. Just let Trump go to retirement. I don't want to turn into Joe Biden too, and it blows up his legacy. You don't want that. You want to remember Trump as a guy that saved like America. He secured the southern border. He got us out of these nonsensical wars in the Middle East. You know that you can argue about that with the Iran stuff, but still, like he's done a lot of good stuff. Bailey Spangler for 2. Georgia alone would flip 2020. Still need to know. Well, the thing is, Atlanta's the worst example by far. But we'll see. That Atlanta though is just like the tip of the iceberg because it's gonna be like Atlanta and Philly and like Phoenix, and right there is the election. Practice for 10. Oh, and wrap a judge injunction of Virginia's redistricting effort. They have to use the current map for the upcoming midterms. It's 6-5 currently. Democrats wanted 10-2. Judge shows unconstitutional. Yeah, that's a big deal in Virginia. We'll see. Murray for 2. It's times like this where I miss Kirk the most. Yeah, Kirk has been badly missed. You're not going to replace him. You can't replace him. Maybe get replacing the podcast part of him, but like the institution of Kirk's gone. You can't replace that. Yeah, TPUSA theoretically they have the most support they've ever gotten, but you don't got the top person that's a genius like Kirk was, and that's why they killed him. President Gilbert getting up for 5. Well, if it did turn out Trump won, then we could say he's the first president post FDR to win more than 2 presidential elections in modern day. First one ever, or second one ever, I should say. Trump's not going to run though. I don't think he wants to. I've always said this before. I don't think he wants to run more than one more term. 2024 was it. He's not going to run again. Oh gosh, we carry the flame. No, don't start that shit in chat. No, please don't. All right. If anyone got any more super chats, any more questions, concerns, whatever, send them now. Last calls for super chats. Last calls for super chats. In all seriousness, I truly believe Trump when he said he wasn't going to run in 24, but he felt like he had to because Biden messed things up so badly. That plus he was going to be thrown in prison, I think. Those are the 2 things that made him realize he got to run again. And I think what really set Trump off the most of the Mar-a-Lago raid. So, yeah. Thoughts of Perry Johnson running? I think it's stupid. Why would talk about Trump 3rd term? Well, yeah, I think it's a waste of time. I agree. It's just not going to happen. But okay. Anyways, folks, we'll see you guys in the next stream, video, or wherever you see us at. Godspeed to all of you.